You're in for a surprise. You're in for a shock. That sounded just like Rob Halford. That was incredible. Hey, I'm back. It's time for the classic Guitar Rock daily update. We took a week or so off for the holidays, and I missed this, so I'm glad to be back. Welcome to 2024. And let me just tell you, we've got a slew, a veritable grab bag of news items, news and comment. So thank you so much for joining me. Let's get right to it. Michael Bolton, a name not often associated with classic rock, but folks, let me tell you, in the early days of MTV, there was this great rock and roll video featuring Michael Bolton called Fool's Game. Right? He was in this hard rock band called Blackjack, which featured one Bruce Kulick, who will be coming up later in the news, and they rocked. You got to go check out the first, I think it's just called I think it's called Fool's Game. It's a Michael Bolton album that came out in 83. This was all pre Soul Provider, and he became Mr. Easy Listening. But the dude rocked, and he's a phenomenal vocalist. So I got to tell you, I'm a Michael Bolton fan. Why is Michael Bolton in the news? Well, it's not for good reasons. He's had to undergo brain surgery. It's forced him to postpone his upcoming touring schedule. He's 70 years old, and the singer said he'd been diagnosed with a tumor and was now recovering from the medical procedure, leaving him no option but to disappoint fans. Quote, this is from his ex, formerly Twitter update. Quote, I want to start by wishing everyone a very happy and healthy new year. I also want to share that 2023 ended up presenting me with some very unexpected challenges. Just before the holidays, it was discovered that I had a brain tumor, which required immediate surgery. Thanks to my incredible medical team, the surgery was a success. I am now recuperating at home and surrounded by the tremendous love and support of my family. He added that he'd be spending the next few weeks focusing on recovery, forcing him to take a temporary break from touring. I think we all understand when you have brain surgery, you can take a few tour dates off. He says, quote, I am beyond grateful for all the love and support you have so generously shown me through the years. Know that I'm keeping your positive messages in my heart, and I'll give you more updates as soon as I can. Much love always, end quote. And the aforementioned Bruce Kulick, former Blackjack bandmate, chimed in, wishing him a very speedy recovery, as did Paul Stanley. A lot of people don't know this, but Michael Bolton teamed up with Paul Stanley to write their 1990, the Kiss's 1990 top 10 single, Forever. Forever. Remember that? If Bolton had sung it, it would have been a number one song. Just throwing that out there. But it was still a top 10 single. People forget about that, which leads me to my next story. Bruce Kulick. Bruce Kulick showed up. Let's talk about Bruce Kulick. By the way, Bruce Kulick was in Kiss from like the late 80s through like they did the reunion thing in 96 or 97 with them. So like about an 8-year period, Kulick was the guy in Kiss. Great guitar player. His brother Bob, also a great guitar player, and also played on some Kiss albums early that people thought was Ace playing. It was actually Bob playing. There was even discussion of Bob being in Kiss, but Bob was bald. Okay, it wasn't going to work. Bruce later, though, actually was a member of Kiss. Since he left Kiss, sorry, I'm getting off track, but I'm on a roll here. Since he left Kiss, he, for the last like 23 years, has it been that long? Well, no, it was, 23 years he's been with Grand Funk. So did you know that Grand Funk Railroad was still a touring entity? Yes, they are. Mark Farner's not part of it anymore, but they've been a successful, on the casino circuit. And Bruce Kulick has been in Grand Funk Railroad for 23 years. And so he just announced that he's leaving Grand Funk Railroad. And all this is happening at the same time that the final shows were happening in Madison Square Garden, the end of the road, the Kiss shows. Well, here's why I bring all this up. Bruce wasn't even invited to attend that final Kiss show. And I mean, Bruce is positive about it. I mean, he's not complaining, but it is odd, right? It is odd that they had a lot of successful albums with Bruce in the non-makeup era, right? And yeah, I don't know. It just seems like they've kind of dissed him. And remember, at the very beginning of this End of the Road tour, the whole shtick that Gene and Paul were putting out that, oh yes, well, it'll be a celebration of the past 50 years of Kiss and we'll bring everyone back and blah, 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 blah. Well, it seems like everyone is no one. Ace wasn't there. Peter wasn't there. Bruce Kulick wasn't there. They could have brought Vinnie Vincent back, but that dude's just nuts. So he's probably in a straitjacket somewhere. So I understand that. But, you know, it's sad. It's sad that they didn't invite him back. And he says, let me just say this. Doc, what's his name? Can't even remember his name. Their manager, Kiss's manager, Doc, what's his name? I should know it. He says, Doc doesn't love my era or get my era because he had nothing to do with that, and that's fine. Doc's always been really cool with me, and I know how important he is to the big vision of what Kiss has done past my era, but I just felt like if he's going to say that Kiss doesn't jam and to get Bruce up there, that would be jamming. It's just a nice way of saying we're not putting anybody else on stage with them. I get that. Okay. What he's talking about there is when Doc was asked about it in a podcast, if Bruce would be part of the final show, Doc says, well, Kiss isn't a jam band, meaning they're not the type of band that brings other people up to perform, probably because all the other people they'd bring up to perform with would be way better than them. That's probably why they don't do that. But he said, no, basically that's his way of saying, no, they're not going to bring Bruce up, you know, and have a jam with Bruce. So whatever. I mean, it is what it is. But I thought this was an interesting thing that he said. He said, for me, the final show, the fans really have spoken. I really think a lot of them were disappointed leaving the show. Doc McGee is the guy's name. That's the guy's name. I know that some of them knew that probably Ace, Peter, or maybe even me wouldn't be there, but they never said anyone's names. They didn't ever even mention all of the other important people in their career, like Bill Aucoin or even Doc McGee or other important figures that are part of Kisstory. The people that helped the band be so successful. I'm not going to crash the party and go when I wasn't invited. It was certainly their night. I really celebrated their last show with my post on social media, congratulating them on their final show. You know, it's their right to do what they wanted. Now, I wasn't aware of the avatars and neither were the fans. And here's the valid point he makes. I really think what the focus turned into for them was the future. If the future to them is that they live on with avatars, then maybe for them that night, Kisstory didn't mean that much. I think it was a big mistake because you can have both. You don't have to not mention all of the other people. I know I'm in the tour book that they were selling, but it was really, really odd to me. And the fans all expressed it to me for them to make a mention of anyone on stage. I love video montages, and I've seen Paul McCartney enough times and how he celebrates the Beatles, and he shows those videos before he starts the show. You know, it just makes everybody feel connected more. So valid point, right? Valid point that Kiss blew an opportunity to celebrate 50 years. Instead, they were trying to get everyone pumped up for these stupid avatars that, mark my word, they're not going to happen. They're stupid. Everyone knows it's stupid. And by the time remember last time we met, maybe, or a few weeks ago, they've announced that the avatars won't even be ready till 2027 or it's perplexing. But I've got one more Kiss story for us. Ace Frehley revealed that he'd once made a beer commercial with Rick Nielsen of Cheap Trick. and that they had so much fun together that he's trying to find this old beer commercial so he can put it on YouTube. I'd watch that. I'm waiting for that. In an interview with Ultimate Guitar, the Space Ace discussed entertaining members of Cheap Trick and Rush backstage, along with his bandmate Peter Criss. But he also said he hadn't enjoyed the same relationship with Black Sabbath on the road. So Kiss famously are really good friends with both Rush and Cheap Trick. They've toured a lot together, and they're good friends to this day. And he talks about that. He mentions that Black Sabbath was much more standoffish, so they didn't have the same type of fun and frivolity that he had with Cheap Trick and Kiss. But the thing I'm really excited about is I want to see this beer commercial, right? He says, I'm still looking for a tape. I did a beer commercial with Rick Nielsen. These were early days. I bought a whole camera and recording system, Sony black and white. And I had him do a beer commercial, and it was hysterical. I have the tape somewhere, but I have 4 lockers, and I don't know what 2/3 of the stuff is in there. Eventually, I'll track down that tape and put it on YouTube. That was a lot of fun. So apparently it wasn't a real beer commercial. It's just one they made. I'd like to see it. I mean, history demands that we see it, right? We've got to, who wouldn't want to see a beer commercial with Ace Frehley and Rick Nielsen? I want to see it. Okay, guys, I'm super excited about this next item. I want everyone to stop what you're doing right now. Put down that pencil, pull over, stop what you're doing right now. Go to Spotify, go to your favorite streaming platform, and listen to Fire Down Under by Riot, just to get you in the mood for this next story. Fire Down Under by Riot. Came out in 1981. Riot, the greatest band you probably never heard of. NYC Rocks TV has premiered Chapter 1 of a new documentary film series on Riot titled Immortal Soul, a Riot tribute and concert film series. And it's on YouTube. So every week for the next few weeks, they'll be adding new chapters. Chapter 1 is the one chapter I really want to watch. Riot formed in the mid-'70s in Brooklyn, New York. By 1980, the band was poised to make it big and toured with many of the heavy hitters of the day. But poor management and bad timing and the stupidest album covers in the history of the world, I added that part myself, created the perfect storm of missed opportunities for what should have been the East Coast Van Halen. They're that good. Yes, the band continued carrying on into the 21st century in various formations, with the only constant being founder and lead guitarist, songwriter Mark Reale. A cult fan following exists today that is extremely passionate about Riot's musical legacy and believes the band deserves significantly more recognition. So we've got an entire episode of the podcast about Riot. You got to listen to it. Riot is a perfect example, as it says here, missed opportunities. The band had all the talent in the world. That 81 lineup, Mark Reale, Guy Speranza on lead vocals, it's in my top 5 albums of all time, Fire Down Under by Riot. I bought it for 99 cents from the Columbia House Record Club. Glad I did. One of the greatest albums I have. So super excited about this documentary series. They had, Guy Speranza left like when they were kind of on the cusp. And then they brought in this new guy, Rhett Forrester, who's a great singer also. Rhett was killed in a carjacking, like in the early 90s or something. Just bad luck. Bad luck. Mark Reale passed away a few years ago. So perhaps the unluckiest band, the stupidest album covers. For some reason, they picked a baby seal as their mascot. So all their albums have like a dude with a baby seal head. It's as stupid as the Kiss avatars, maybe dumber, really, in the grand scheme of things. But ignore all that, check out Fire Down Under, and be prepared for a sonic extravaganza. And these guys should have been much bigger. than they were. I'm excited about it. Give Back Through Music, GBTM is what the kids call it. Give Back Through Music is producing its first annual American Classics concert, celebrating legendary American music icons who have left us. It's scheduled for January 23rd. Yes, January 23rd at the Canyon in Agora Hills, California. And this first show, they are paying tribute to the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the star of stage, screen, and the occasional police lineup. I made that part up. Leslie West. A tribute to Leslie West. Guys, Leslie West, another of these guys that was phenomenal. He influenced so many people. So many people. And when you go back and listen to what he was doing in 68 and 69 and 70, you could almost make the case like Tony Iommi. I mean, Leslie West, Tony Iommi, Richie Blackmore. I mean, those might be the three that had the most influence into what we call heavy metal. Seriously. Go listen to Nantucket Sleigh Ride. We've all heard Mississippi Queen. It rocks. Check out Nantucket Sleigh Ride. Or Theme from an Imaginary Western or whatever. They've got another great one. But his tone, the way he played, very muscular, powerful player, Leslie West, and he never used his pinky. Watch him play. Never uses his pinky. I think all he uses is first and his third finger. But he's phenomenal. I'm excited about that. One of the most admired pioneers of rock guitar, Leslie, has influenced many of today's artists, some of which are performing in this concert. The night will be hosted by Eddie Trunk and includes performances by Steve Lukather, Orianthi, Richie Kotzen, Jesse Hughes, Stephen Perkins, Tracy Guns, Alex Skolnick, Rudy Sarzo, Marco Mendoza, Julia Lage, I don't know who that is, Stu Ham, and over a dozen more artists. It's going to be a great show. And hopefully they'll be playing a lot of Leslie West tunes. I'm sure they will be. That's the 23rd at the Canyon in Agora Hills, California, if you're in the area. Okay, I thought this was kind of fun. Ultimate Classic Rock listed their 10 most surprising rock and roll things of 2023. And let's see if we agree. Mick Mars fall out with Motley Crue. Was it surprising? I don't know. It was a thing. Josh Freese joins Foo Fighters. I didn't know that until right now. Apparently that was a big deal. Annie Lennox is done touring. I didn't know that. Annie Lennox has a very unique voice. I can't say I'm a huge Eurythmics fan, but I respect him. I like a lot of what they've done. Jan Winter ousted from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Well, the least of their troubles was Jan Winter. Yeah, he was a dork chop, but they got bigger problems. But they kicked him out because he's basically sexist and racist. But they do have bigger problems than Jan Winter. Ted Nugent retires from the road. Now, Ted Nugent, like Roger Waters, controversial figure. Some people love him, some people hate him. But for my money, the first Ted Nugent album is one of my favorite albums. Okay. He just needs to do what other rock artists need to do and just shut up and play music. Right. I think everyone would be a lot happier. It's never a good marketing idea to alienate half your audience, whether you're on the right or the left. It's just not smart business. But I got to tell you, I'm a fan of the Motor City Madman's playing. The dude rocks. You know what he does better than anyone else? He plays slide without a slide. I mean, check the guy out. His ring finger, he plays slide without a slide. I've never seen anyone do it as good as the Motor City Madman does. But he's retiring from the road. I'm sure he'll find things to keep himself busy. Robert Plant dusts off Stairway to Heaven. You know, for a long time he wouldn't play it. Even though it's, one of probably their most famous tune, he just hasn't played it, right? Well, he performed it at a charity benefit in England, hosted by Duran Duran's Andy Taylor. It was the first time he'd done it in 16 years. And it came at the request of a wealthy benefactor who donated a huge sum. So they probably said, look, Robert, this person's going to give us a lot of money and they just requested that you do Stairway. And he did it. Good on him. In other Zeppelin news, Jimmy Page shows he can still rumble. That refers to him performing at the last Rock and Roll Hall of Fame presentation where he played Link Wray's Rumble along with Anton Fig. That was pretty cool. If you haven't seen that, you should check it out. The new Beatles song, Then and Now, that shows up on their list. I think that should be there. The Hall & Oates lawsuit. Yeah, I don't know that that's one of the 10 most surprising or things. I don't know. And let's end on a high note. Kiss unveils their avatars. Okay, so guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate it. You can follow us on X. You can follow us on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're even on the Instagram. I don't know anything about Instagram, but my kids say you should be on Instagram, so I'm on there. So if you're on Instagram, look up Classic Guitar Rock, and I don't know what I'm doing there, but you can follow us there. Thank you so much. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Live long and prosper. Take care.